Welcome to Dateline Health. This is Fred Lippman coming to you from Nova Southeastern University. I just took my mask off just to remind you, do yourself a favor because this insidious virus is with us, and we have to respect not only ourselves but our neighbors, friends, and loved ones. So wear your masks, socially distance, and wash those hands. Anyway, that's out of the way. We have a wonderful program today. This is called Self-Care and Emotional Well-Being for the holiday season. And actually, it could be for almost any season, but particularly now that we have the imposition of this insidious COVID virus bringing us to areas of, I guess, emotional strain that our guests are going to talk to us about. So let me first introduce Marla Berger, with a lot of acronyms after your name, Marla, so you're going to have to tell us what they are. And she's with Berger Counseling Services. Welcome, Marla.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. Yes, I do have a lot of acronyms after my name. What it all boils down to is I'm an experiential therapist, meaning I love talking, but I think that doing is more helpful. And so I'm a registered art therapist, a registered play therapist, and advanced certified in equine assisted psychotherapy. So I love creating and doing and working with horses.
We did a program with you many years ago on equine therapy, which we were very proud of here at NSU. And a long time, this is like the fifth time we've had this gentleman on our show, because he is really one of America's experts in the area of I would say, crisis in the human spirit. Dr. Ralph, always known as Gene Cash to me. He is a psychologist and nationally certified school psychologist. Welcome, Gene.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lippman, Fred, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yes, I have been here a number of times.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Just to remind the folks, Dr. Cash, otherwise known as Gene Cash, has been our, what I would call, not only the expert from Nova Southeastern University, but really a national expert in the area of the implications and the crises we have relative to suicide. So, but we're going to talk about the general welfare and emotional issues that are pressing upon us due to this crisis that is brought about from the COVID-19. So let's start first with you, Marla Berger, if you don't mind. Tell us of the implications recently that have come your way because of the psychosocial pressures that have been brought upon us by this insidious virus.
A couple of things have been really showing up in my practice. I work a lot with children and families as well as with parents. And a few things that I hear over and over and over again is how much people are missing out. And a lot of the time, what I'm talking about with them is how to reframe that as a time of really strengthening the family relationship. And so instead of focusing on the fact that maybe they don't feel comfortable, being on that softball team because of COVID, what I'm talking about is what are you doing as a family to actually grow your family bonds and really strengthen that family time? Previously, people have run themselves ragged, making sure that their kid has gone to every single activity, done every single thing. And the family ties have been really loose, and there hasn't been a lot of that reliance on each other, how to have good conversations, how to do things together, how to deal with boredom. And really, I think that COVID has allowed some families to really slow down, stop, and think, well, what could I do, with my family and start to enjoy my family more? Of course, a lot of people still focus a lot on the negative and the things that they've lost because of COVID. And so some of those things we're really just trying to create a real sense of family and community within those safety places and really expanding what does communication look like, what does family fun look like, what do family traditions look like. Um, but I've also seen, of course, sadly, a lot of families that are no longer, choosing to remain married. And so that's also something where we've really worked on how can we, now that we're in two-parent homes, really have some consistency with the safety piece of COVID, as well as really creating this safe two-family, home and new relationships and new family connections in this time.
Dr. Jean Cash, we've had conversations about the stressors in the community at large and within family structure. I don't necessarily want to get into the suicide part of it. How do we deal with our self-care and emotional well-being during this massive holiday period, which traditionally has a lot of stressors to it? Gene?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, that holidays bring extra stress in addition to, for many people, positives. But even with the positives, they're stressful. And this is an enormously stressful time anyway, because of the COVID virus, because of some people having lost loved ones to the COVID virus, because of having to be concerned about kids' schooling and having kids at home far more often than we've been used to, and having to take the initiative to do things with those kids that we might not have had otherwise. And even the people who don't have children have others to care about, to take care of, to be concerned about. So the question then becomes, what do we do to make sense of all this and to keep ourselves relatively sane and effective during this time? One of those things is what I call the airline principle. It's what they tell you when you get on planes, and they say that the mask drops down if there's not enough oxygen. And then they tell you the airline principle, and that is, if you are traveling with people who need assistance, young children, elderly, and so forth, put your mask on first. And what I'd like to emphasize about that is that if you don't take care of yourself effectively, then you're not going to be any good at taking care of anybody else. In fact, you may not be in a condition to take care of anybody else. So make sure that you get enough sleep, make sure that you eat right, make sure that you exercise regularly, make sure that you take some time for yourself at this very stressful time. And then make sure, once you have taken care of yourself effectively, that you become a good role model for others. Modeling is so important. Kids take their cues from their parents as to how they should handle a crisis. And if their parents are relatively calm and they say to the kids, this is going to be okay, we can problem solve this, we can handle this, then the kids will likely handle it better too. So those are a couple of really important things. Number one, take care of yourself first. Number two, make sure that you set a good example for others.
Both of you can comment on this. With the holiday season that runs from pre-Thanksgiving up until New Year's, there are usually events that occur where either we're with our dear friends, family, we're at events that are normal and natural to the period of time between, like I said, you got Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, a lot of, shall we say, communal, in a sense, events, whether they're just families or whether they're friends. And now they basically have disappeared. I see it as sort of back to the future, because I remember growing up as a child with a family structure where we were, there might be 10, 12 people living in our household, and we had to sit down at dinner together, and we found a way to share. So I'm wondering how that implication is, I guess, assumed at this particular crisis period with this insidious virus. Gene, you go, and then we'll let Marla turn in.
Okay, thanks. I had no idea that we could have family events virtually until this this virus, and that's something that we should not minimize, at least the importance of it. We need human connection. That's a part of who we are as a species. That's a part of who we are as people. And it's better, of course, if we can have that human connection face to face, person to person, skin to skin. But that's not always possible. However, for most people, there are some who don't have connections with Wi-Fi and some who don't have access. And I feel so badly for those folks, and I hope that they can find a way to manage it. But if we can make the virtual connections, whether it be by a phone call or whether it be via Zoom or some other platform, or whether it be via any other way that we can connect with other people in ways that are meaningful, text messaging, I don't know, Facebook, I don't do that, but a lot of people do. And those kinds of things can keep us connected, can keep us in contact. And by the way, this virus, as difficult as it is, will not last forever. So don't lose hope about that. I don't know when it'll be over, neither do you. But if we set a good example, if we wear our masks, if we do the things that Dr. Lipman suggested, and we take good care of ourselves, and we maintain those connections with people whom we care about, we're going to be okay.
Marla?
I really love how you brought up kind of how you grew up. And I think that that is a really huge piece of what we actually need to infuse into this holiday season. Start to think about what was life like in our grandparents' time, our parents' time. What did they do to celebrate holidays? And a lot of times what you really talked about, albeit we can't get together in the numbers we used to, simple things, such as family dinner every night, as many nights out of the week as possible, playing together, going for walks together, all of those things to infuse inside of it. Now, I'm going to out myself. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I grew up with about 50 to 60 family members all coming together. And so when I think of Thanksgiving, it is a big, huge event where I get to reconnect with family and friends. This year, it is okay that it's going to be stripped down to its core. And I had to set a real limit with my parents and my boyfriend's parents. And I said, we're going to have to wear masks almost the whole time, except when we're actually eating. Because one of the things I've seen in myself, as well as people around me, is that we're getting a little complacent. And that is something that is very natural as humans. We get more comfortable in a situation and we let our reserves down, sometimes a little bit and sometimes a lot. And that is our real big danger point for this holiday season. So a lot of times really just going through and taking the utmost care to create the safest holiday season that we can have. And I love exactly what Jean said, which was really bring in all of those virtual events. This is something that can be very joyful and fun. We can even have gift exchanges through the mail. And that is something that really can keep everybody involved and excited. Wouldn't that be fun to have a gift reveal virtually? So I think, again, going back to those old times, thinking of what we used to do.
As Dr. Cash just said, having the limited family around you and perhaps altering it with some opportunity to have a virtual event, i.e., I'll give you a perfect example. I usually don't talk about my own personal issues, but I had a big birthday recently, and we had a virtual event. I had people on there from California, Chicago, New York, Canada, etc. And I hadn't seen some of those people. Some of them I hadn't seen in 15 years. But yet, it was like I was with them yesterday because we all were together. It was not the simple me to you, but it was all of us together. It was us talking to me.
You know, and actually, my parents just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So for the past 2 years, I've had huge plans. We were going to go and meet with them while they were on their European cruise. And I mean, we were going to do all these things. We were going to then throw a big party. So yeah, COVID really shattered a lot of the things that we thought that we would do. And instead, what we actually did was ask family and friends to film a few seconds or a few minutes of video. And I'm going to say that that was the most meaningful thing we could have ever done because it is there for posterity. We will always have that. And as you said, we hadn't talked to some of those family and friends possibly in years. And to be able to have some of those distant relatives and friends that we had just kind of let go by the wayside, have that conversation and really touch about how meaningful that experience of my parents being in their life, that is huge. But also remember that we often have family that we're in our pod with, and we have animals that we are in our pod with as well. And so the more touch that we have, as Dr. Cash said, the more that we're going to feel healthy and really grounded. Now, the great thing is that we also have ourselves. And so you might take that moment to smell a really beautiful candle or to put on some really nice lotion and really notice that touch. And that is some ways that we can even feel connected to ourselves and to the world around us by starting to notice with our senses what's actually happening here right now. And how am I connected to this huge earth and all the people in it, even if I can't see them right now?
Gene?
Marla's doing a great job of describing mindfulness and how we can be in the moment and appreciate what we experience, the sensations and the feelings and the thoughts that we have in the moment, and be non-judgmental about those or be positive about those. That can be incredibly helpful. Also, there are some good things that come about as a result of sequestration or being confined to our houses and so forth. We're learning new skills. My grandson, who is 8 years old, frequently now sends me an invitation to meet with him via Zoom. And I'm thinking, he's 8 freaking years old. How can he know how to do that? How can he arrange? But we've acquired a lot of new skills, a lot of new connections, as Fred was saying, that he reconnected with people that he had not seen in many, many years and probably would not have if he had had to do that physically rather than virtually. And so there are some positive things about this, and looking for the positive and appreciating being in the moment and the positive things about that moment are really critical, like Marla was saying. And by the way, I am thoroughly enjoying this conversation, even though we're not together, because it stimulates me. It makes me think. It gives me different perspectives. And if we can look at life that way, we will be far better off.
Well, that's why I wanted you on the broadcast, Gene. You know, you're a man of many seasons, and you know, we've talked about some of the heinous issues relative to suicide and suicide prevention. But yet, I just had a feeling that if we're going to talk about self-care and emotional well-being on the holidays, I said to our executive producer that let's get Dr. Cash on. I know that Marla Berger works with this on a daily basis, but I just knew that that you would add some content matter, which is the nexus between what Marla does and what I was hoping that we would talk about. Because, you know, we spoke about this one time in one of your 5 visits here about the why is there such a depressive, I should say, excess of depression during the holiday season. And we spoke about the suicide and self-harm and things of that nature. But yet, this is different, you know. This COVID imposition on our lives is different. And it's multi-generational, multi-ethnic, it's multi-distanced, and I just felt that we needed to say something to our listeners, because we know that this will be showing over the holiday period, and I want them to feel secure. And in a way, I want both of you who are offering palliative talk and communication, for that to be infused into the viewer's mind. So let's keep on going. Keep on going. Gene, keep on going. Talk about it.
Okay, I'll talk about it some more. I love to talk. The fact is that a lot of people are responding to the virus and the consequences of the virus with what's called major depressive disorder. That has increased, according to some of the best estimates, threefold during this crisis. And if, in fact, you are one of the people who's experiencing significant depression, you just can't get going, you feel down all the time, particularly if you have suicidal thoughts and so forth, that's no shame. That's something that's happening to lots of people. And what's important is that you get help for it, that you seek some mental health professional who can help you find a way out of that. And that's available online as well as face-to-face. So it's something that can be done via telepsychology in addition to face-to-face psychology. And so it's really important to keep in mind that if you are struggling and struggling mightily, you're not alone. There is help available, and it's really important to seek that help.
Marla, you're going to finish up by closing the show, so I want to hear what you have to say. I know that Dr. Cash has led right into your area of responsibility. Go ahead, Marla.
Absolutely. One of the things that we also want to make sure is that people who are first responders, medical professionals, and my fellow therapists, that we are also making sure that we are taking good care of ourselves and seeking some support, because it is something that dealing with death, dealing with dying, dealing with people being sick, and then people who are really struggling can truly increase our risk for suicide. And so we want to make sure that we minimize it, because helping the helpers is possibly the hardest population to try and access. So for all of the helpers out there, including our teachers, including all of the support staff that are making sure that our children are healthy and safe while they're in school, please make sure that you're also seeking support as well. There are many, many different types of programs. I volunteer through Project Respite, through Revolution, to make sure that medical professionals and first responders have free support whenever they need it. And there's many other programs out there. So when you need the help, please seek it, because again, we don't want to increase anyone's risk. Compassion fatigue changes the way that we see our world into a very deep and dark place, and that could lead to suicide. And I don't want that to happen during the holiday season or at any time. And so remembering, as Dr. Cash said so eloquently before, take care of yourself first, and then all of the other people that you want to help in your life, they are going to do better because you're doing better.
Well, I want to thank both of you. The intent of this program is because I owe this to our viewers who have been very, very participatory over the last 20 plus, almost 24 years. So I want them to know that we, all of us, here, me representing Nova Southeastern University, you, Marla Berger, you, Dr. Gene Cash, representing the incredible advocacy for good mental health. We wish everyone during this holiday season a emotionally strengthening time to deal with the goodness and the wonderment of the holiday season. There is good in these holidays. There is willingness to love one another, be kind to one another, respect one another. And I really believe that both of you have lent to this program in a manner and a form which I was hoping we would get to. So thank you, Marla Berger. I appreciate your insight and your knowledge and your willingness to give to others. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to you, Dr. Gene Cash, dear friend, but magnificent individual who has given his life to offer his knowledge to protect not only themselves, but to be good citizens and loved ones in whatever structure they find, whether it be family, friendship, or otherwise. Dr. Cash, thank you very, very much for being here. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to all of our first responders and caretakers for keeping us safe.
Oh, yes, they are the blessed ones. Folks, I just, one more time, I wanted to tell you that please wear your masks, do social distancing. Don't get to a situation where you're being disrespectful to others and to yourselves. As Dr. Cash said, you got to take good care of yourself first. But I want to wish you all a beautiful, wonderful, holy, happy, and kind holiday season. And we're going to beat this COVID virus at some point in time. But more importantly, I want you to take good care of yourself and your families. Remember, this show comes to you from Nova Southeastern University. I always say to you, take good care of yourself. You've heard our experts tell you what to do, so let's do that. And also, I want you to know that if you have any questions or comments, there's an email address. Remember, my name is Fred Lippman. We come to you from Nova Southeastern University. Until next time, see you.